Cinco and Eno. Cinco said she remembered Veas when she used to go to Room Going when he worked before opening the village trattoria. Can you imagine that? He worked at Room Going before he opened village trattoria. But you see how this, anyway, let me don't get into that. He was always making the little girls smile and feel like they were so grown up, he said. Even when I grew up, he took the time to talk to me, to everyone actually, and I had my own children. He did the same thing. They adored him too. When Angelo spoke to you, you knew that he really cared about you and about what you had to say. He was a great man and will truly be missed. Yeah, the guy was a good guy. You know, the little dealings I had with him, you know, I mean, I didn't know that he actually knew me. You know, but, you know, when he said, Anselm, how you doing? I was like, yo, you know, I'm doing fine. I'm kind of puzzled, but...
You know, here's an article that someone wrote, a blog in Huffington Post by Dr. Jane Aronson. She writes, I live in Maplewood, a community of 25,000 citizens. 25,000.
Was that article on?
It's also on the Village Green, but it's a blog that's coming from the HuffPost. Filled with artists, musicians, teachers, social workers, psychologists, finance people, not-for-profit leaders, business owners, developers, in every possible profession. Maplewood is diverse. When you walk down the main street, there's single parents, same-sex couples, and mixed-race couples with their children who will hopefully change our culture for the better. There are people in Maplewood who advocate and fight for social justice. There's a high school that has a faculty and administration who believe in change and innovation. And there are heroes in Maplewood. Who are they? When one of them falls and dies, we all cry and pay our respects. Angelo Veas, who passed away at his home in Maplewood this past weekend, is a hero. I attended his wake at Morrow Church yesterday. I knew he had a brain tumor and people spoke about his surgery, but I lost track of his struggle until yesterday when I ran into a friend in town and she was placing flowers in front of Trattoria. I was crushed by the news, and so was my teenage son, who adores Trot, and the feeling we all have when we wait in line to get pizza or sit inside or outside. We enjoy the feeling of belonging while eating the many tasty dishes served up by this restaurant. We feel Angelo has created a home away from home for us. It seems that everyone in Maplewood was coming through those church doors. We all love this man. He mentored new business owners and gave to those in need. He named a pizza after Cole Angelo, who died 2 years ago of brain cancer, which took his life as well. He smiled and catapulted me out of a bad mood on more than one occasion. While going through my divorce, I ate more Trattoria than my own home. I sat alone and said hi to Angelo on many nights, or took out dinner and felt safe because of Angelo. He smiled at me out of my despair. I met Angelo even before we moved in. I would come to my new home as it was being painted and ready for the move-in day, and I would get Ben, my baby son, that fabulous chicken soup or rice soup. Ben loved that soup. He still does. Angelo, like many leaders in his community, he was a role model for how we connect and care about one another. He helped me fall in love with Maplewood, and in the last 12 years that I've lived here, I've looked to this town for strength and support that we all need to stay the course of life's challenges. My work abroad puts me in touch with communities, and many are strong and loving, just like Maplewood, a collection of people looking for the same feeling of belonging. There are Ethiopian Angelos or Haitian Angelos, and we look to them for strength in the community. I loved Angelo Veas. He will never know that many of us thrive through most of the desperate times of our lives because of him and his devotion to connection, safety, and generosity in a world that's overwhelmingly too big and chaotic. Thanks to Angelo, and my condolences to his wife Mary, his mother, and 3 sons.
Okay.
What a town, what a town. Everyone knows. You know, the Trattoria, it's interesting because when kids come home from college, you know, like that's the first place they go. And you're sitting in there and you've got these images and pictures of Maplewood all up on the walls. I don't know about the South Orange Trattoria, but it's not as homey as the Maplewood one. You know, it's just it's a blessing to live in such a great town. It really is. Have you ever been in there? Because I know you don't eat.
Shotteria?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to eat pizza at one time.
Oh, you used to eat pizza at one
Yeah,
time.
I ate pizza at one time. He had good pizza though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You ever had one of them going on?
I think I had it once, maybe twice.
Yeah, they had good pizza.
Were you trying to make some connection between Roman gourmet and not your cup of tea, huh?
I was going to say
not your slice of pizza.
No, I was going to say something, then I realized that I shouldn't say it.
Are there other... because I don't see you as a going out to eat kind of guy.
No, I'm not a going out to eat kind of guy. You're absolutely correct.
Are there any restaurants in Maplewood Village that you've enjoyed any food at?
In Maplewood? Yes, HLC.
HLS, you mean?
HLS, yeah.
Okay. But in the village itself? I mean, the Thai place?
We went to the Thai restaurant. They got good food.
And about the Mexican place?
Nah, I never went to the Mexican place.
There's a new Mexican place, which I haven't been in yet.
Do you have good food?
I haven't been in the new Mexican place, and the other Mexican place I'm not that crazy about. And, once you've eaten, Mexican food in Mexico or California, it's like, something's missing, so.
So, the Huffington Post also has another article. 5 steps to understanding racial bias.
5 steps?
Yeah, to understanding racial bias.
I'm listening.
So, it says the racial discord that has gripped the nation in cities from Ferguson to Cleveland has resurrected an old term. People are once again talking about bias. Bias in policing, economic and health disparities, and social policies are typical in the main corporate dining hall and on college campuses. Yet a review of the literature and media coverage suggests insufficient understanding of the nuances of racial bias. While some researchers contend bias can be either negative or positive, I disagree. This is an article in the Huffington Post written by John Fitzgerald Gates, PhD. He's the National Diversity Expert, Principal and Chief Strategist of the Critically Management Consultant, former Associate Dean of Harvard College. And this is a black guy. While some researchers contend that bias can either be negative or positive, I disagree. Rather, I see bias as a negative supposition or attitude towards someone or something. The opposite of bias is preference, favoritism towards someone or something. Racial bias is a harmful aversion to a stereotyping or discrimination against a race. Much focus has been given to the unconscious bias and implicit bias as interchangeable forms of bigotry, when in fact they are two separate manifestations of the same phenomenon. More research points to 5 distinct categories of bias that impact race and other forms of diversity: explicit, implicit, unconscious, internalized, and externalized. So they have identified 5 distinct categories of bias. Explicit, let me quickly run through each one. Explicit bias is an overt intolerance based on social, religious, or political views that cause some people antipathy towards others. Abortion and gay rights historically have been areas rife with explicit bias in which people hold fixed views of right and wrong. Recent cases of business refusing to provide services for gay couples or churches refusing to marry them, a form of explicit bias resulting in discrimination. Yes. So what we now have is we are going to categorize the type of biasness we have.
Yeah, social scientists have to have something to do. Keep going. Let me hear.
So implicit bias is an understood, implied, and otherwise unspoken prejudice. While implicit bias can and does operate at a level of individual actors, it often occurs at the system level through practices and policies applied to classification of people. Data indicates implicit racial bias is systematic in hiring and promotion of minorities across many industries. policing and justice, housing, media coverage, and local, state, and federal policies towards urban America, including disproportionate public school funding, to name a few. So too, implicit bias occurs when protesters are called thugs by politicians and the media, when minorities are followed through stores as presumptive thieves by security guards, when women are paid less than men for the same job and performance.
Implied.
So what we have now is a lot of implicit bias by police, right? When you go into a store,
security,
right? Yeah. And implicit bias as far as how public school funding is distributed, right? And then the federal policies and how the media coverage of what's going on in Ferguson, what's going on in Baltimore.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So then you have unconscious bias. Prejudice born from personal experiences, perceptions, and attitudes that is unrecognized by the perpetrator. In this sense, unconscious bias is a byproduct of experience in which an absence of prejudicial intention nonetheless results in bigotry. Less about right and wrong than intolerant perspective, unconscious bias occurs at the level of individual agency rather than system, as people hold views that inform system whose biases are either explicit or implicit. Okay? So we have unconscious bias.
Unconscious is, can you say that again in your
It's prejudice from personal experiences. You say some things and you're not conscious of it. Like, for example...
So is that similar to the... what was it? Microaggressions?
Microaggression, right. That's unconscious bias.
Right.
It's like, oh, Marjorie, you speak properly. You know. Internalized bias is an acceptance of external bias by those against whom it's perpetrated.
Mm-hmm.
So...
That's the one that I'm concerned with. Keep going.
So, you accept...
You accept that there's something wrong with you. You believe, because other people believe that, you believe that about yourself. I'm black, I can't do that. I'm black, I'm not supposed to be, smart. Or
that's why at the beginning I played Ron Brown. Ron Brown. Les Brown. I played Les Brown. It's possible. It is a belief in the validity of one's own degradation, a submission to the negative messages about oneself, such as when a child is told that he's no good and comes to believe that in that assessment of his value.
And this is
internalized bias is a form of self-hatred.
That's right.
Hatred of one race, family, social group, or national identity.
This is the bias that I'm most concerned about with. I really don't.
Internal bias?
Yeah. I'm concerned, care what other people think about me.
I'm not concerned with that.
Yeah, it's
what I'm concerned with is implicit bias.
Yes. Well, I'm concerned with how we view ourselves.
Well, you see what it is that if you don't view yourself in that way, that's not going to be important to I think if a person doesn't view himself in that way, like I think implicit bias will more affect.
Is this the third one? Is an implicit?
Second one.
Okay, what's the third one? It's called
unconscious.
Unconscious. That's the unconscious one. Is what bothers me. Go ahead.
No. Implicit is the one that I think bothers me the most.
So implied, which is a microaggression.
No, it's not a microaggression. That's the one that the police going to follow you, in the stores, right?
Yeah, but okay. Let's hear the other two.
Okay. Next, we did internalized bias. There's one more. Externalized bias is the externalization of hate unto the system, tenets, and actors of one perceived oppression. Operating on the fringe of society, external bias is associated with mental illness, rage, substance abuse, and violence. Cases of externalized bias include homegrown terrorists, violent extremists abroad, and some whose intensity of disagreement with their government is deeply hostile. Racial bias advances inequality. While there are no absolute remedies, there are some best practices. So, those are the 5 that you talked about. To me, the one that I think affect most of us is implicit bias. Implied and otherwise unspoken prejudice, It operates at the level of individual actors, often occurs at the system level through practices and policies applied to classification of people, systematic in hiring and promotion of minorities,